Do you know that moment that you wait between game releases and it's getting closer to the release of the game, but you still have nothing to play? Well, I am suffering from that now, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you will be suffering from it too, with Astro's Playroom coming out, well, Astrobot, I should say, coming out in less than a week. I am struggling to find ways to keep myself entertained. I mean, you could always go outside and touch grass, but do we really want to do that? I've even considered taking the dog for a walk. Not really my cup of tea because the dog usually walks me more than I walk the dog. And the last resort was exercise? It just didn't make sense to me. So I compiled a list here of a few things that I think you can do instead of those unnecessary and unwanted things. Obviously, those are all just for jokes, but seriously, there are things that we can be doing as gamers within our game worlds while we wait for new game releases. And it's really some of the obvious things that we could be doing and we know we probably should be doing, should be in terms of gaming. And yeah, let's just hop right into the list and let me tell you what are some of the things that I've been doing while I'm waiting for Astrobot to release next week. So, an obvious one that a lot of us do is we go back to an old game that we love playing and we replay it numerous times over. For me, I love replaying The Witcher or just going into the Witcher world and playing it from wherever I left off in the last gameplay. A lot of the time, I will have finished the main story and then I'll just be doing some side quests and doing things like that. So, hopping into an old faithful game, sometimes often a short one, so like maybe the Last of Us remake, less than 10 hours if you know what you're doing, and you just do a quick playthrough of that. I mean, that's something you can do over the weekend or over the course of a couple weekday nights, which is perfect for when you're waiting for a game that releases on Friday, like most games do. On top of that, you could do what I have actually been doing while I've been waiting. What I've been doing is I've gone back into Hogwarts Legacy, as you can see on the screen now, and while I've completed the main story, I left a lot of side quests and a lot of collectibles out. So what I'm doing is I'm going through the map and going through collecting all the collectibles that I can and doing the quests that are available to me. At the moment, I'm doing the Demiguise statues, the Demiguise Moon statues for Mr. Moon, and I'm doing okay in that. I want to finish all of those before Astrobot releases. I don't think I'll finish everything in the game, but yeah, that's one thing that you could really consider doing. I'm trying to think of a different example. You could potentially go into Horizon Forbidden West, finish off all the story missions or side missions after you've done the DLC. I know that there's still quite a bit left for me to do in the DLC after I have completed it. So there's lots of things that you can do, especially in open world games, even if you finish those open world games. I know Spider-Man 2 is a brilliant example, but most of us will have platinumed Spider-Man 2, so there's not much left to do unless you just want to swing around the town or replay missions. Replay specifically the Venom mission. Let's be real, that's the only reason we all wanted the replay missions tab in our in Spider-Man 2, so we could replay as Venom. And I mean, that's perfectly fine. If you want to do that for an entire week, go ahead. No one's stopping you. Another thing that you could do, and this is a bit more on the iffy side, is go back into that game that you tried and just could not get into and try play it again. For me, I'm really struggling to get into Dark Souls 2, which is really sad because Dark Souls 1 is phenomenal. It is breathtakingly well designed, and the gameplay is arguably the best gameplay I've ever experienced out of any game ever, and that was released so many years ago. But Dark Souls 2 dropped the ball. I am really not enjoying Dark Souls 2, so pushing myself to get back into Dark Souls 2 would be a good option if it wasn't such a, how do I put it? I just can't get into it. I'm in No Man's Wharf and it's just absolutely obliterating me every time I try to go through. I've watched a few little guides because it's really getting ridiculous now. And on top of that, I'm really just considering taking it out and dismissing it and going straight to Dark Souls 3. So let me know if I should just be doing that in terms of Dark Souls. But in terms of what we can do while we're waiting for new games, is you can definitely go in and try new try replay an old game that you didn't quite get into back then. A good example for me was Deadpool. I tried Deadpool on the hardest difficulty because I wanted a trophy, and it was horrible. And over the last 3 weeks, I persevered and I eventually finished it on that hardest difficulty, but it took me like a year and a half to get to that point. So maybe sometimes dropping the difficulty isn't as bad as it sounds. I just did that for a trophy and it totally was not worth it. Rather play the game on a easier difficulty if it makes the experience more enjoyable to you. So on top of that, you could also buy another game. You could buy another recently released game. For example, maybe Star Wars Outlaws has just recently released, and you could play that while you wait for Astro's Playroom. Granted, you probably won't finish in time and you'll have to put it on the shelf, and it'll become that game that you have to go back to before another game release, but it is a possibility. Sometimes we just want that hit of new, and if you buy a new game, even if it's just new to you and not new to the world, it can fill that void while you're waiting for a new title to release. For me, I'm not going to be doing that. I have far too many titles in my backlog, far too many titles that are still sealed. If we go over here, we still have Persona 5 sealed on PlayStation 5, and I still haven't finished it, but I'm still enjoying my casual playthrough of Persona 4, so I'm not going to rush into that. But you might have new games on your shelf that you haven't even tried playing yet. It just depends on what you're in the mood for. Sometimes you're in the mood for a JRPG, sometimes you're in the mood for an open world action adventure, which is currently what I'm craving. That's why I'm hopping into Hogwarts Legacy as much as I am. And yeah, there's so many things that we could be doing while we wait. Another really good option is playing a multiplayer game until the launch of the new game. Multiplayer games are one of those games that or the type of game that you can always sink multiple hours into, especially if you have a good group of friends that you're playing with online. I enjoy Rocket League from time to time. We've played a bit of Among Us, but I'm really bad. I don't redeem my PlayStation Plus or renew it because I haven't really had that need to play multiplayer games. But I know a lot of people do love playing multiplayer games, especially like playing Grand Theft Auto Online or Fortnite, Call of Duty Warzone, things like that. If you're brave enough, you can try FC24 and play that online. But I think FC25 is around the corner anyway, so that might be a little bit dead. For me, I really enjoy hopping into Gran Turismo 7. I love Gran Turismo 7. I don't actually hop into the multiplayer side of it, but Gran Turismo 7 is that type of game that you can always go into and always repeatedly play. Another example that's free to play and is actually really good at the moment is Asphalt Legends Unite. I've put a good few hours into that already for my video a couple weeks ago, which was the 120 hertz video. And I actually got addicted to Asphalt Legends Unite. It's actually really fun, and I really recommend picking it up and playing it. It does limit you to how much you can do in a day because of a fuel system similar to how like Candy Crush has lives. It's the best way I can explain that. But yeah, you could do games like that don't actually have like major stories to follow, just casual laid back games that you can always just hop in, enjoy for a couple hours while you wait for your new game to release. I hope you guys are excited, or as excited as I am, for Astrobot releasing next week. I am super keen. The video next week Friday might take a little bit longer to come out because I will be waiting for those for Astrobot and the controller to come to my doorstep, and I will do an unboxing and things like that for it. So if the video is a little bit later next week, please forgive me. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend and that you're keeping busy waiting for launch, and that you are practicing one of these many tactics that I have mentioned while you wait for your next release. Cheers.